Hello, 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 and good morning to our listeners from around the globe. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Westley Johnson, and of course, I'm so glad you're here with us again. I'm joined by my very special friends, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning,
Great.
special friends and audience.
I love it. I love it. How has both of your weeks been going, Dr. Chanel? How's your week been?
It's been full. I was actually at a Fempreneur summit yesterday where I spoke on elevating your identity. So it's been an awesome week. And Brian and Sheila, the snow is melting here in Michigan. So
Yay.
the sun is coming out.
Hello. That makes it a good week.
Yes.
Sheila, what about you?
Yeah, I've had a great week as well. The snow is not melting here quite yet, but I guess maybe in little glimpses, but we got some. This is our morning update on weather, right?
Exactly. And coming up live at 11. And we've already got a great person saying good morning. William, good morning, beautiful people, he says. We'll right back at you, William.
Right. How was your week?
It's been good. It's been good. It's been good. It's been good. It's been like the weather here has been like pseudo cold here in DC. I'm hoping that it gets warmer so that because we're getting close to the cherry blossom season. And they're everywhere, by the way, everybody. I mean, they're all around the nation's capital and like other beautiful flowering trees like apple blossoms are around, dogwoods are around. It may be a little bit bad on the side on the for allergies, but it's so beautiful.
Nice.
Listen, we've got another great Hot Topics day. But before we begin, I want to remind our listeners, listen, we want your comments, your questions, your thoughts. This is an interactive discussion. So just post right directly to our chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll do some shout outs and get your thoughts in our discussion. So with that, Sheila, you've got a good first topic for us to discuss. What is that first topic?
I do. Well, I have been watching the TV series Poker Face, which is on Peacock. And it's a great show, everybody. But basically, it's a modern Maverick with a woman. And she... It's got a cool background story that goes with it. But basically, she has a BS detector, is what she says, or she's a walking lie detector are the two things that she'll talk about. Now, she's on the run, so she ends up in different towns. She ends up with a murder every week. I don't understand.
Whoa. Okay.
She ends up around people, and she ends up solving the murder. She's not a detective or anything, but she is, every time someone tells a lie, whether it's a simple lie or a big lie, and whether it's about the murder or not, she's not looking for murders. That just is part of the plot. But sometimes she just blurts it out. BS, well, she actually says it, but So as the nuances of the episodes were going, I was like, wow, this is really showing more nuances of what lying is. And when people sometimes may tell truth, but they're actually covering up a lie as they just speak in truth, right? Like by diverting, or just how it feels to always know when somebody's telling a lie, or mostly know. And it made me think, it took me several episodes in, and I was like, hey, wait, I have a BS detector. And I have since I was little, and I was aware of it when I was younger. And usually it was a compassionate lie, which is a thing that I learned, is that people who are compassionate are more likely to tell what's called pro-social lying. So
Mhm.
it's just to, fit in and not hurt people's feelings or something. When I was younger, my mom, maybe I could feel her upset. And when I'd ask as a little girl, she'd be like, everything's okay, because she didn't want me to worry. But what it did is it made me question my own intuition.
Mm.
Um, and that to me was detrimental with who I am. So when I grew up and became a mom, I switched it and I said, okay, I'm upset right now, but everything will work out. So it's not something you have to concern yourself with or something to that effect. So I was curious to just explore the nuances of lies, starting with, do you feel like you either sometimes or all the time kind of know when people are lying to you?
Mm. Hmm.
Mm.
That's a good question. It depends, I'll say. I think if it's something of, quote unquote, a white lie or something like that, like we were talking earlier about, uh, you know, saying like we were talking about, like, someone says, oh, I'm okay, or it's going to be okay, when in actuality there might be something in the background going on, and
Mhm.
and you kind of intuitively know that's really not the full truth, but you understand that, you take that in as, oh well, they just don't want to talk about that right now, or that they don't want to talk about it with me.
Right.
Then if it involves me, right, if it's
Mhm.
something that involves me directly and someone's not telling me the truth, I can pretty much pick up on that, you
Mhm.
know Dr.
Mhm.
Chanel, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking more maybe not so much detecting, but for example, when certain people, there's this common thread here in Detroit about sometimes when people want to say goodbye to you, well, they have to go, but they'll say, "Well, I'll call you later." That's their way of
Yes, girl.
that's their way of
Yes, that's a
saying
definite
goodbye,
Detroit thing.
but they don't want to say goodbye, so they'll say, "I'll call you later. Or I'll call you later tonight." Well, no, that's just say, you know what? We've had a great conversation. Goodbye.
Right,
So
right.
that's one. And then the same thing, you all, when you see somebody you haven't seen in a long time and they're like, "Oh, let's get together." We're probably not going to get together. So I don't know if we both know that. I
Right,
think we kind of do.
right.
So I don't know. It's just like you get a little sense of that, but nothing blatant and, of malice, but just that little subtlety of not being direct, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love, Sheila, you were talking about, um how you have learned to adjust to some of the, what can I say, colloquialisms of lying, where you kind of say, I'm not doing well, or not that I'm not doing well, but I'm okay, right,
Mhm.
Mhm.
instead of, um I'm processing some things right now, or I'm emotional right now about something. I can't talk about it right now, but when I do, I'll let you know. Like the difference between that. Um,
Mhm.
um, I love that, but I also think that takes a whole lot of security. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it does. And to be honest, like with my partner Zach, there are times we have an agreement. Sometimes you just need time to process before you share. And we are together so much because we work together from home, that you just need space sometimes. But because we're both so intuitive, it's really important to just be able to have some sort of agreement that it doesn't mean, if it's not about the person, just let them know. And if it is about them, say, it'll be all right. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But
hmm
sometimes when I'm really in an emotion, I don't even want to say that, to be honest.
right, right,
Mhm.
right. Like you just put your finger up and like, just one. That's just no, not right now, not right now.
Well, and that's funny because in our fractal illumination, we have we have what we call quiet kitties, and they're these little pictures of cats with their paws up. And if you don't want to talk, you wear this around your neck so you can be at a gathering and nobody will approach you to talk. And everybody always says, I need one of these for home. Can you sell these?
Well, it's funny. As we were, thinking about this, there's a study that was done in Digital Hub, and it was the top 20 most common lies, including "I'll do it tomorrow" and "I forgot." And a poll of 2,000 adults found who admit to lying. 42% consider them to be convincing fibbers. And they said the biggest reasons for lying include not wanting to offend others by revealing what they really think, 52%, to keep people on side, which is 34%, and to avoid telling off, which is 32%. Commissioned by Uber Eats, the only food ordering service to deliver honest burgers. This is part of the whole research. It found that 51% feel guilty when they don't tell the truth. And they said, and this might be with good reason, 42% revealed a lie has come back to haunt them.
Right. Consequences. Right?
I know, consequences. Oh, remember that when you were growing up? Truth and consequences. Again, the top lies are the ones that I just said before, which is "I forgot" and "I'll do it tomorrow." And then another one, I'll just kind of give you, I'll go from the 10th one is not disclosing actual price of an item you purchased. That's funny to me.
That is funny
to me. 9 is don't know what happened there. So I guess I don't know what happened there. 8, I think some of us all have done this one. I got stuck in traffic. 7 is I got no money when you actually do. 6 is I haven't got any change. So I guess that's when people are like, asking you for money. 5 is nice to see you. That's funny. Golly. 4 is I'm busy then. Like scheduling an appointment. I'm really busy then. And 3 is I am listening. Ooh.
Ooh,
wow. Ouch. There's more. Maybe I'll share some more in the next segment. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep talking about lies. Yeah. We're going to continue right here. We'll take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll talk about Sheila. I mean, there's the notion of lying in a compassionate way that that we were kind of talking about before, that I think needs to be explored as well. I know that I grew up with the fact that honesty is always the best policy, and I think that there's also a nuance to that you just don't like blurt out. Like when I was young, I would just blurt out the truth.
Right.
And that did not work so well. My mom and dad would be like, "You did not need to say that to people." So we're going to keep talking about this. If you have any comments, like William's been blowing up our chat, which I love. He's got some great ones. We'll talk about that when we get back to. But just post it into the chat, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime. And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. We're talking about lies, yeah, right now. I just love that song. Thompson Twins Forever. And we had a William Garrison. William, where are you from, by the way? Let's post into the chat and let us know where you're coming in from. He had one great, was like, what about all them guys presently in the government? What's their reasoning for lying about everything? Which is very true.
Right.
My goodness gracious. Sheila, you had this, we were talking offline about this, but I love that you also, again, there's a nuance here that's with people that might even be health related sometimes. Can you talk a little bit about that part that you were talking about before with us?
Yeah, let's just start with what William said and kind of where we talked earlier about how our society is almost based around the agreement that we're going to lie in certain areas.
Yeah.
And that goes into our government. And, it's really good day to talk about this because blatantly with the all of the Fox News anchors and hosts emails coming out and all that they said, and they just didn't believe it when they were saying it. And we don't know why they did that or why the government is feeling like they should lie to us. I do have a nuance of that. Like if it's national security, because there's a poker game in the world, of national security is a poker game where everyone's lying. And if the government can't tell us the truth all the time and still be in that poker game, that part of it, I have a nuance of understanding. But when we then look at it in our own relationships, I do think, sometimes our lies come from lying to ourselves. Like we really don't know our truth and we have to know our truth. And even when we do know our truth, there's all different layers to those truths,
Absolutely.
And so that takes us to what is called compassionate deception or compassionate lying. And as you know, my dad died of Alzheimer's and my mom had frontal temporal lobe dementia. And so we learned at first, you want to tell them all the truth. No, Mom, that's not right. You knew that, and it's cruel as it goes on. And so, there is a lot of research about compassionately lying in situations like that is actually the loving thing to do, especially when it doesn't matter as far as all it's going to do is cause harm.
Right. I my grandmother also had Alzheimer's throughout most of her life, but it got really, really bad the last like 10 years. And she was always the one that was, cooking and making everybody else feel comfortable and that kind of thing. And she got to the point at which she would like start cooking in the kitchen and then walk away, and she would forget that she had stuff on the stove. And it would really, really concern her and just freak her out that she couldn't remember. And so we just had to get to especially my uncle had to get to the point at which, he basically took over cooking, but would say, no, it's okay, or don't worry about it, so that she wouldn't get freaked out. right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
love that you brought up this point, and I'm going to go to you, Dr. Chanel, on this.
Mhm.
This point of, you know, that sometimes these lies that we may be telling others may be coming out of a place within us where we're lying to ourselves about maybe even something painful that we don't want to come out, or it's just our life experience, like an old wound, this pain center. I know that you work a lot with women specifically on taking charge of their life, getting empowered, specifically like professionally, and you're coaching them. Do you come
Mhm.
across this as well, where maybe some things get uncovered along the way where they were like, man, I've been telling myself this all these years and now it was completely different?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Sheila, yeah, this is a really good topic. So I like to call it a facade. So we're not, blatantly trying to tell a lie about where we are, how deep pain is, or, where the wounds are. So in order to not do that, we put on a facade. And that in itself is more or less a lie because it's not your
Mm-hmm.
true authentic self. It's a
Yeah,
covering,
yeah,
it's a mask, it's
yeah,
a way of being that sometimes allows us to survive
yeah,
and not really get to the truth, because the truth then would be revealing um, where we really are, which is probably not the optimal place we had expected to be, for example. So, there's all this expectations that, we try to live up to, societal pressures. And so there's just this whole way that you move and duck and dive and try to
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
outshine. But when you pull all the layers back, that's where the truth resides, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, this covering can be deceptive, actually. You want to
yeah.
say that you're a director when in fact you're a manager.
Right, right, right.
Or, you want to say that you live in this neighborhood, but in fact it's really, or this city, but when you pare it back, it's really this city. So people kind of put things out that they want you to know based on, um, appearances and keeping up with the Joneses and all of that. But I think until we get to our real truths, right, we
Right.
we placate these lies.
Right.
Mhm.
Listen, I think it'll be great to end this segment. William just had a great uh, thought and comment in the chat where he says, compliments just to make things seem better. It's not so bad. Lying to take advantage and destroy you is a whole lot different. And so I think honesty is always the best policy. I think it's a way of conveying that we all have to learn to
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, but I think that's a good point. I mean, I think we should all be questioning, okay, why am I saying this way to someone else? And go deeper, because I think Dr. Chanel and Sheila, you guys both kind of touched upon it, where you go deeper into yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you are aware of what you may be telling yourself internally, and then change. So we're going to stay here. We're going to be right back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. 6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now. You can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity. And we are back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. I'm joined by my co-host Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel, and this is a hot topics day for us. Ladies, we're going to move into something different that I think that's very appropriate for yesterday was International Women's Day. And thank you both for all that you do. I want to say that.
Yay.
This next topic really pulled my heartstrings because I think it's something that specifically women of color have been dealing with forever. There's a story that comes from the George Lucas Educational Foundation on eliminating anti-Black hair policies at school. I'm just going to read a quick excerpt from this. And it says, for the last 2 years, educators all over the country have expressed an interest in creating schools that are genuinely inclusive. We recognize that students who experience a sense of belonging at school have greater levels of emotional wellness and academic achievement. Yet, as of today, a search for hair discrimination in schools results in more than 30 million hits. There are simply too many examples of Black children's academic opportunities being impacted by their hair. There have even been laws enacted to end hair discrimination in schools and workplaces in response to this growing concern. I have a very young grandbaby, our beautiful Azari. And I cannot, it just breaks my heart to think that when she's older and she's going to be in school, that people are discriminating against her because of her hair.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys' initial thoughts, Dr. Chanel?
So, Brian, when you say it breaks your heart, it kind of infuriates me because
Well, that's
because I own every aspect of who I am, which includes my hair.
Right.
But I do know, even this week, I was talking with my daughter. So, I get the inside scoop from school.
Right.
And one of the young girls wore her hair natural. And some of the boys made fun of her. And I don't think they made fun of her openly, but you knew she was being made fun of. And it's very difficult to be who you really are if you can't embrace all of you, if you have to change your hairstyle based on a school code. And this wasn't the case in this case, but there are schools that have a school code where you can't wear, braids, or you can't wear these ornaments that you put on the braids. You can't do locks. I don't know if you all remember, there was a wrestler right in the match that they forced the coach, if he wanted to continue in the match, they had to cut his locks off.
Yes.
Right in the match.
Yes.
And I just think how you're stripping someone's identity by having to conform to someone else's standard of acceptance. And it's very demoralizing. And I can say a lot about it, but Sheila, you go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say.
You know what? I just want to say it's straight out racial discrimination, and it's based on white supremacist ideology, and that's bedded in our systemic racism. Like, I'm going to put it all in there because it's that, and there's no other way to frame it. They say it's a distraction. All of those, a distraction, or I don't know what the other things that they say to justify it, but it's a power play that has been here and used against people. I mean, even if you look at it from the Native American, indigenous people, and the boarding schools, the first thing they did was cut their hair off. And that goes back into ancient times, that cutting hair is taking the power or controlling it. And then when you hear what happened with, the school that your children go to, that comes from these policies, these ways of thinking that make you think that somebody's hair, natural hair, is somehow right or wrong.
Right.
Right.
Right. Just some quick facts here. This is from the Brookings Institute. Black students are disciplined at a rate 4 times higher than any other racial or ethnic group. Further, their research found that 70% of all suspension disciplines are discretionary. Specifically, Black students are more likely to be suspended for discretionary reasons, such as dress code or long hair violations, neither of which have found to be predicative of student misconduct.
Yeah, that's just,
Right.
that's a cover. And what I do know in working with students, when they can't bring their whole selves into the classroom, which means how they express themselves,
Yeah.
there are people who have purple hair.
Right.
I don't know that they get the same,
No.
treatment, right? They don't, right? But when your hair is, definitively with the braids and with the coils and with the locks, you get judged differently, and there are assumptions made about you, and not just in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
which we want to protect our kids so that they feel full of who they are, so that they
Yeah.
can have higher academic outcomes. But even in the professional workplace, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Men are discriminated against with their hair, and of course women. So we often, will change our hairstyle based if we have an interview, if we're trying to go up for a promotion, or if we work in a law firm.
Right.
We tend to make those modifications to be accepted by the status quo, or the supremacists, those in power. And it's just, I'm just so outdone with it, because it violates who people really are. And it sets up a system where you get to decide how I wear my hair.
Right.
And that
Right.
is really shameful, honestly.
Quick story, and then we'll try to go to break after this. At a company, I won't mention the name, so we won't get in trouble, but they had 2 candidates for a engineering position overseas that I was kind of overseeing. One was a Black professional, had long locks, beautifully coiffed. I mean, man, I wish I had his hair. And the other one was a white male. Long story short, they picked the other guy, who they did not run a background check on. They didn't do anything like that. And it come to find out that the dude that they picked was a catch me if you can dude. He was a con man. I had picked the brother because he was was way more qualified than this other guy. And there was, again, we talked about lies, right? There was something about the white guy who it just didn't sit well. And what I heard from my colleagues was they were talking about his hair.
Yeah.
Oh, he's very knowledgeable, but did you see his hair? What did you think? That kind of thing. And it was like, oh, they're not picking him because of his freaking hair. Are you serious? And so just, there's a whole lot more about that I could say offline to both of you, because it's a crazy story. But again, it just goes to, this bias that's there with non-people of color, where they're discriminating against just because of how people look. And it's like, that's not right. It's just, anyway, I could go on about that, but listen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to stay on this topic, but we'll be right back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. 6 years ago, when I started Soulivity,
My vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Chanel, we're talking about hair discrimination. You had a quick example.
Yeah, pardon me. I have a colleague who wears her hair in, kind of like twist. Okay. So it's big hair and it's beautiful. And she's an attorney. And she told me one time when she changed her hairstyle, she came into the office, she called everybody into a meeting, and she said, I want to explain to you my hairstyle. I want to explain to you what went into it. And I want to answer any questions that you all have, because she said if she didn't do that, she would be spending the entire day answering questions about her hair, or people wanting to touch her hair, or
that's another
just having curiosity. And I bring that example to say is that she took a more proactive stance. So instead of just letting people intrude upon her time, she just decided, you know what? I know you all are going to be talking about this all day, so let's just get this out of the way, and we're going to meet about it. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but I thought that was an interesting approach, because when people change their hairstyle, people do have questions. People do want to touch.
Yes. I mean, I think there were many times I had people, especially when I had, we back in the day, we'd have our Afros coiffed. And the people, can I touch your hair? It's like, no. William brought up a great point here. I want to kind of bring this up. His thought was tattoos and clothing can also, it's not just you representing or trying to a color or race. I think what he's trying to get at here is that this is probably part of a larger discussion. Because I know in New Zealand, with the First Nation people that are there, where they have their tattoos on their face. Well, it's becoming more and more common that in the workplace that's being seen as that, hey, listen, this is a cultural thing, and so this is becoming more accepted. But I think that we got a long way to go. Long way to go. Sheila, what are your thoughts? And you've been a little quiet over there.
I think you guys have more to say about it than me because of experience, but I feel like addressing it in schools is so essential, because that's where people get indoctrinated into it.
Yeah.
And so, I would say for anyone, especially if you are not a person of color and you have kids in school, take a look and make sure you've looked at any kind of, clothing regulations or hair regulations, and that you call it out and pay attention if you notice things, and be that voice to make the change in the workplace or in school. But I'm hoping that less and less people feel the discrimination in school, and that, at least by a generation from now, these things are not even on the table.
Right.
That would be amazing.
Exactly. And so to that point, before we end this segment, just want to kind of talk about giving some empowering information here to information. This is also from the article that I read earlier from the George Lucas Educational Foundation on eliminating anti-Black hair policies at school. It goes to the 4 ways school administrators can end anti-Black hair policies. One is improve school culture. Numerous studies have shown that the majority of Black girls and some Black boys have dealt with hair-related harassment, teasing, or bullying at school. Administrators can begin to turn this around by doing the following: encouraging teachers to have students take a deep dive into hair discrimination, right? Knowledge is power.
Right.
I think that
Yeah.
that is so freaking important. Always addressing community members based or unkind comments about black hair, whether the offense is deliberate or unintentional. It's a teachable moment for addressing the larger implications of bias. Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Empowering students to critically review school dress codes, especially those that are related to hair. Young people enjoy the idea of being involved in creating or dismantling rules, and it serves as an organic lesson about policy making and revision. Wow.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Enhanced representation is another one. Acknowledging bias is another one, and evaluating dress codes is the final. Um, any other thoughts about this? I'll go to you, Dr. Chanel, because I know that.
Yeah.
Whew, I'm glad we're
I
talking.
think those are, yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so glad you mentioned those tips, especially for administrators in the school. And of course, Brian, you know about the Crown Act, which was
Yes.
created in
Yeah.
2019 by Dove and the Crown Coalition.
Right.
And this was in partnership with the then state senator, Holly J. Mitchell of California. And I'll just read you what it says. It says, to ensure protection against discrimination based on race-based hairstyles by extending statutory protection to hair texture and protective styles such as braids, locks, twists, and knots in the workplace and public schools. And so more and more states are starting to embrace the Crown Act. And I think it's through legislation and education are we going to start to have the conversations and start to dismantle that, so that, like Sheila, what you're saying, at least in schools, especially our young people, there's nothing that we're doing that is intrusive and that dismantles their sense of identity, because
Right.
identity is linked with higher outcomes,
Mhm.
academic outcomes. And so who are we to, the systems and the discrimination, to let that stand in the way of our kids thriving and flourishing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great topics today. And kind of interrelated too, to a certain degree. I mean, the discrimination against black hair and people of color's hair is rooted in lies. Just want to kind of, lies about why they're doing it, lies about the outcomes of what could happen if we don't stop it, that kind of thing. Everybody has to conform. And that in of itself is a lie around what is beauty, right? What is what is being attractive. And so I'm glad that we're talking about this. I think we can come back to this too, because I think William had some good points around, there's some cultural things that are seemed not acceptable that we could probably bring to bear on this too. So
Absolutely.
So we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk around our final thoughts.
All right.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices, and together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, and I'll go to final thoughts from you, Sheila.
I guess I think that it's so great that we're talking about it, and that I like what you said, Dr. Chanel, about, it's about changing our attitude and about changing the laws to support that. And I did notice that last I looked, there were only 19 states that had approved the Crown Law. So hopefully we can get that a little higher, or a lot higher. And that it's also being looked at the federal level, in conjunction with people are getting, they're getting sent out away from school, sent home because of this, and not expelled, but maybe it creates this behavior of separation, and it goes down a path that just seems to explode if we don't stop it at this point.
Dr. Chanel, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, my final thoughts, at least on this topic, is there is more education that we have to do. And I think that always is part of it. But I absolutely applaud the women who are taking the stance to, if they want to wear their hair natural, but I think Erykah Badu, I think she has a song that says, I will not be defined by my hair. I am not my hair.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it is I believe it's $1 billion industry at the same time that
right. Yeah.
Especially as, Black African-American women of color, invest in our hair, going to the hair salon.
That's a good point.
Relaxers, which now, just as an aside, I believe are being linked to cancer, something that a lot of African Americans have done to their hair is a straightening process, again, based on standards that are set outside of our culture. But I think overall, if we can continue to stand in our truth and, figure out a way to get more laws passed so that it's against the law to discriminate, to expel a student, to cut a student's hair in class, or on the gym floor, or the expectations and who gets hired in the workplace. I think that we just have to continue to educate, continue to legislate, but then also women have to, especially, take their power and stand in their truth and not be defined by their hair, but wear their hair that is in a line to their identity. And if we can teach our young girls and our young boys that earlier, all the better.
I guess my final thoughts really quickly are this, and this goes out to my brothers and sisters that may not be people of color. Be curious and educate yourself on this topic, on hair discrimination. And then ask yourself, why would there be a regulation, a policy, guidance on how people's hair should look at school or in the workplace? Who does that really benefit? Are we looking at, and even if you're thinking about it from the point of view of, well, we're trying to have uniformity, what's defining that uniformity? The uniformity towards what? Mm-hmm. Because if you're educated and historically you understand that uniformity means, something more than, oh, well, we're just trying to make sure that everybody kind of looks the same. No, you're not trying to do that. That's not the truth. So get educated and get some facts behind your decision-making processes and how you relate to other people. Oh, and finally, it is not okay to touch somebody's hair. That's not okay.
That's not okay.
It's not okay. Don't even ask about it. Don't even ask to touch their hair. Just let that be for a minute. You ask questions about it, like, be curious and
Compliment
it. Compliment it, but don't touch it. That's not cool. Especially, just no. Again, great topics today, ladies. Sometimes I wish that we could go a second hour to talk about this stuff, maybe in the future. But I think we need to come back to this topic and talk a little bit deeper about it. So really quickly, Dr. Shinano, you have some things that you are offering our folks. Can you talk a little bit about that really quick?
Sure. I continue to offer a coaching chat where we get together, we find out, what's preventing you from getting to where you want. And really what we're talking about, Brian and Sheila, is identity transformation. And so happy to talk with you about that so that you can own your identity and accomplish all that you are looking to do.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Sheila, what about you?
Well, I have a discount for all of you Soulivity This Morning listeners to a soul communication session. If you want to help connect with your soul energy, with loved ones who've crossed over, get insights from your spirit guides, then you can check that out in the link that is provided in Soulivity.
All right, great. Thank you. So listen, we got a few seconds left. Listen, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for joining us for another great episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, or listen in at 9 a.m. Pacific on KMET 1490 a.m. for all of you out on the West Coast. Please remember to join our mailing list at soulivity.com/this morning, and follow us on social media. Wow, great show today, ladies. Thank you again for your love and light. Happy Women's Month and International Women's Day to you, though that was yesterday, but this whole month is about history of great women, and I'm surrounded by a lot of them, and I can't be more thankful. So on behalf of everybody, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.